empty frame hangs in full view in a courthouse not too many miles from here. It looks pretty ridiculous, hanging there with no picture, no message in it. But the picture of nothing wasn't put there as a joke or an oversight. The frame used to contain the Ten Commandments, but the government decided that you can't have something religious hanging in a public building. Many people were upset when it was taken down, so they left the empty frame hanging there. With tongue-in-cheek, some people said that the real reason we can't have the Ten Commandments hanging in a courthouse is because you can't have a sign that says, "Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery," in a building full of lawyers, judges, and politicians. Just creates a hostile work environment. You think sometimes still about the issue of whether the Ten Commandments can be displayed in a public building or the Lord's Prayer can be used as Parliament opens. And in thinking about these things, it's not a very big leap at all to get to the question of where the Ten Commandments belong in our own lives. It's important to ask, am I displaying the Ten Commandments clearly in my own daily words and deeds? Am I keeping them posted in a prominent place in my personal life? Or am I an empty frame too? Now, none of us here likes a whole bunch of thou shalt nots. It's all so negative. Plus, we don't like to be told what to do. It's just part of our makeup. I mean, we have a child whose first word was no, whose first sentence was, "I don't want to," and since then has been known as a child who was born with his or her, since I won't narrow it down at all, his or her hands on hips. God's intention with the Ten Commandments was to give us a positive framework for our lives. The first four are guidance in having a right relationship with God, and the other six show us how to have a positive relationship with each other. Jesus hit these two aspects of the Ten Commandments when he said, in his summary of the law, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind and soul and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself." The first four, to have no other God except the Lord, to keep from misusing the name of God, to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. These are simple and straightforward, and give us a clear picture of what it's like to be in a right relationship with God. Are these commandments negative? No. They're not easy, especially when we find ourselves tempted to fall down and worship the false gods of money or beauty or popularity or power. They can even be countercultural, like when we attempt to keep the Sabbath as Sunday, or even a different day as a Sabbath, a day of rest and restoration, in a very fast-paced, demanding, and even life-sucking world. Yesterday, it's a long story, but yesterday I was in Florida on a one-day trip, and I had lunch in the airport, and I was trying to figure out what to have because it was one of those food courts, and I decided, in my memory, I remembered something really important to me. I had lunch at a little restaurant that just serves chicken sandwiches. It's called Chick-fil-A. And the reason I went to that restaurant was, first of all, I like the food. But I remember going back because I respect the fact that all across North America, they close their restaurants on Sunday, what would be normally the busiest day. I respect that. There's a gas station in my town that I like to use. And I partly like to go there because they give their employees Sunday off. I like to support that. But it's hard in this day and age, isn't it? So many people have to work on Sundays. People aren't here today because they have to be at work. But these commandments are still meant to help us and not hurt us. We tap into a source of strength and wisdom and compassion and guidance when we worship God and put God first. We live healthier, happier, and even more productive lives when we have a Sabbath day and don't work around the clock 7 days a week. the worship of God is a great positive in our lives. It makes us stronger and not weaker.